All right, let's start this next session that we're gonna do. We've got two of the most iconic, legendary Wayne Flint and
that's exactly
and Morgan Hale. No, we've got
Wayno
the Drano. We got Tony Ruggiero and Jackson Koert coming with us. Give us a little bit of a talk. They're from the Dewsweeper team. Really excited to have them. I asked them to pull up a random video of probably the best golfer they've ever seen. And we're going to have them break it apart, talk to us just some basics, starting video, how you're recording video, that kind of thing. Jackson, I'll give you the mic. Take it away, man. Appreciate you guys being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Tony, honored to sit up here with you. I love Onform. I use it every day. I think it's super beneficial for myself and players. There's a ton of different ways in which I use it, which I might go into a little bit later on. And I'm still learning more with this 3D stuff that's coming out. It's great, and all the multiple angles that you can film at once, and some integration with launch monitors coming soon too. So you guys have been on the cutting edge of stuff, especially with how things have moved in technology for golf instruction, making it super easy for people to use anywhere, anytime. Makes my job a lot easier, so thank you.
Nate, thank you for having me. Also, thanks for all the support. And, before we get into dissecting this wonderful golf swing, I'm the old school, one of the old school people here. And, I kind of came up where to give a real good golf lesson, you had to have your computer out. You had to sit them down and plug your camera in and load your video in. Probably everybody here's done that before, right? And I remember, having young teachers that would ask about an iPad, and I'd say, that's bullshit. You can't do that. Sorry if I cuss, but I'm going to. But, anyways, as things evolved, and I'm teaching more and more on the road and different things like that. I was looking at different ways to film, and I'd bought an iPad. I had one, but anyways, I bought a bigger one, and I remember talking to Jackson, and I was like, hey, because I kind of rely on Jackson a little bit, and Morgan and some of the folks that work with us to, give me their ideas on technology and things that would be good. And, he was like, hey, you remember Nate, you met Nate, you want to reach out, and you ought to try it. And I did. And at that time, I'd reached out to a couple different people that had video stuff, and I abandoned all of those because I tried it. It's just, to me, it's super easy, but the biggest thing for me is the ability. I'm very personable as far as I love keeping in touch with my students, and I think the ability to really stay connected to your student is something that separates this, and the ability to do that and the ease in which you can pull videos from other lessons that you had with them and make pictures and share it with them is unbelievable to me. But I think it's a lesson for everybody that's in the golf business and the teaching. While things have certainly become more remote, people do a lot of remote coaching, I don't think it's ever going to replace the one-on-one or the personal touch that you give that student and your ability to stay connected to them. And I think that's something that all of us, as we go into this more and more technology and in this age, need to keep at the forefront. That if you want to be successful and you want to make a difference in people's games, and you want to grow, I think you need to continue to use apps like this and things that allow you to stay connected personally, and where obviously everybody has to have rules and boundaries and all that. But, we're like doctors on call. When somebody sucks on the golf course, they want to get you now. And so to me, one of the beauties of this is the ability to give them information, be accessible, and stay very much involved with your student.
One thing real quick, too, that's been super beneficial for me to continue to learn. We've been doing this online program. It's monthly with Morgan. She does fitness, and then Tony and I. And what we've been able to do is with all of the players that are in the program, we sync it up where Tony and I and Morgan all have access to their Onform. And so they'll throw videos up, and we're both able to see them really quick and fire back and forth. And Tony's kind of got oversight on that program. And but yeah, just ease, and we've been able to blend it into our team approach as well. Yeah.
we're going to get to your video in a second, but another thing that I think is important, as I came up as a teacher, I was very fortunate to have great mentors. Wayne Flint was one of them, Hank Johnson was another, and then another guy taught me ball position and changed my life, right, Wayne? But no, just a joke. But anyways, had great mentors, and in the early days, like there weren't apps to share stuff, so I would always text a video or a picture or a question, you know, of students to Wayne or to Hank. And the ability with this app to me is so all of our team has access to where we can share videos very easily with each other. I share stuff with Jackson all the time. I send things to Morgan or to Wayne where I'd say like, hey, you know, like especially with Morgan, I might zoom in on something and say, why is this guy's foot or leg doing this? And she could say, hey, have them do this exercise, have them do this drill. And so I think the more you can build your team around you and you can have easily access to your students, to the videos and the info, and share with people that have other expertises, it helps make you better, and once again, it helps your student.
Yeah, that's great.
Don't forget
All right.
the ball position, right, Wayne?
You want to talk about ball position, T?
Yeah.
All right. So, what's one of the first things you look at when you're taking a peek at a swing, T?
Well, the first thing I look at is setup.
Okay.
So I always look at, first thing I always look at is setup, in particular, ball position and posture, right? And even more so, hip posture at address. Those are the things, because I teach a lot of pivot, I teach a lot of rotation, and so, you know, one of the sayings that I've always said, and I've heard for going back to my mentors, the body's number one job is to not fall down, right? And so if you're not, you know, if the base of your spine isn't under the top of your spine, or the base of your spine is slid out like a right-handed golfer to angle towards your trail foot, you're probably going to have a difficult time loading into that trail leg, right? So I always start with posture. A view that we don't have here, but that I use a lot, is actually the rear view. I do that a lot on Onform, and you can pull it up and show them where their hips are. So that's, you know, again, I mean, like somebody's going to say, oh, that's super easy, super simple stuff. But I think people in today's stuff with all this tech, they skip past a lot of those basic things. And I mean, just last week I had 5 tour players on the tee in a day, mixed in with 3 members. Taught 8 lessons that day, right? Like, I still started in the same place, right? And I think that I learned that from him. I mean, you know, over the years. So that's where I start. Posture, ball position, all your setup stuff. Really, I mean, and then club face, and then pivot.
Keep going. What do you see here?
I mean, I think you ought to buy a boat. Nah, I'm just kidding. His golf swing's pretty good. I mean, I draw a line down from his left shoulder to his left foot. See what that looks like. Left shoulder straight through left foot. How are his hips? So they're not bad. Not bad.
Maybe a little bit too far back.
Yeah. You know, just go ahead and run it back. Draw a line up next to his right leg and his right hip. So we may get Morgan involved in this too.
No.
So I do this a lot. Like, I like to teach people to load and wind up into their trail leg. I think of it just like if I was, if I was a quarterback. In fact, Morgan and I both teach A.J. McCarron, who played quarterback in the NFL, won a national championship at Alabama. He's a golf nut. And one of the things that clicked with him was, you know, he would get this way at the top, kind of how little more exaggerated than Nate, but where his pelvis was working towards the target on his backswing. And so we really worked with him on loading into his trail leg. And one of the things that made sense to him was like, would you throw a football? Would you wind up and go like this at the top of your throwing motion? And he was like, hell no, Saban would have kicked my ass out of the practice, right? And so, you know, finding analogies like that to me are very helpful. But so like if I was using Onform like this with Nate, you know, I would show him how how his right side is working towards the target, and I don't feel like he's loaded into there. And if I zoom in on his right foot, you can see right there. And I use this feature a lot, the ability to just zoom in. See how his right foot twists off the ground there? I hate that shit. Okay? Because like how can you push off your trail leg to get over to your lead side if your foot's twisted off the ground? So the first thing we're going to do is Morgan's going to get up here. You got any bands?
Got a pivot pack?
No, we forgot to bring a pivot pack. But Morgan, take him through a couple exercises. So this is where if you were a Dewsweeper, we would take you and help you learn what the motion was like to learn to load into your trail leg. We did. I'll be honest. I had too much wine last night, and I forgot to bring our bands and pivot pack. Take him through an exercise. Yeah. So one of the things that we do a lot of, and we film people on the Onform, is golf's played on two posts. You turn into your trail leg and you unwind into your lead, and it's important to be able to have stability and mobility in each side. So we do a lot of single leg exercises. Right? Learned this from Colby Touye. Morgan has worked with me 12 years. If you get the opportunity and you're down in Jupiter, Florida, you need to go see him or follow him on Instagram at Colby Wayne. It's an unbelievable follow. But look how his leg's shaking and his foot's shaking, right? So he's not stable enough, mobile enough, or strong enough in that side, or maybe a combination of all three. So we would give him exercises and drills to help improve that stability, mobility, or whatever. She would do an assessment. And so, we would have him do those exercises and then have him hit another ball and see if, as he built that stability and as he started to learn that motion, if it improved, and we would be able to compare it. And so I'm big on, I like to pick out the thing that I think's the most screwed up in your golf swing, and fix that and see if a lot of the other stuff goes away. I learned that from him early on. And so, to me, if the club face is good, your posture is good, ball's in the right spot, I'm probably going to start with your pivot and see. And so, like, just looking at that was kind of glaring to me. And I think that's why if you run at Jackson, run a lineup from the ball now, straight up. Keep going. So now you look how far out in front of the ball he is, halfway down, right? So from there, he's got nowhere to go other than back up, stand up, stop, and probably release the club. And that's why his head stays back. So if I was putting your instruction program together, I would learn and I would help develop your physical ability to do it, to wind into your trail leg, give you exercises and drills that would help you learn that movement pattern. And I'd get the ball up and teach you to wind up better, and then and explain that to you on the front end, right? And I think you have you've got that first video saved, so you can always go back to that and see how you're improving, which I think is important.
One thing that I've been using recently, I didn't use it at first, and then I went through a bunch of physical therapy last year with 2 back surgeries, and you're sitting in a PT office and you're doing exercises, and they're on a computer typing up notes all the time. So one thing that these guys have hammered into me over 8 years now,
and I mean
hammered into me, is like staying on your program and understanding your 1 or 2, 3 things that you're trying to do. So what I've done is started to use the notes that's private to you, because if there's accountability that I'm expecting from a player, I also have to have that same accountability. And sometimes you see somebody twice a month, and then you don't see them for a couple months. And if I can just jot down really quick, like a headline in a newspaper, like this is what we were working on and this is what the ball was doing. So then on my end, when they come back, I'm not throwing stuff on the wall. I'm sticking to that same script and that program. And then having that as a reference as time goes on has been incredible just for me, because when you're busy and you're coaching a whole bunch, you're going to forget what you taught somebody a month ago. And so that's been a great resource. It's private to me. Sometimes I'll share it with them. I used to share it with them a bunch, but now I've kind of just kept it a little bit more private. And then, yeah, I obviously just love the library and being able to pull. I've stolen a bunch of videos from Tony over the years. So like I've got it categorized where like I'll have draw players, I'll have fade players, I've got tall guys, short guys, so then I can go in there and be able to pull those examples and compare. And like actually this morning, I just did it with a player, freshman at Mississippi State. Like I used a Lucas Glover video from years ago just to give him a reference, and I actually showed him why it was good and understanding like, hey, like this is your pattern, and understanding like this is what it looks like when it's good, not necessarily chasing improvement, especially when you're coming on another semester when he needs performance. Yeah.
I also think I use the notes section to have students at the end of each lesson write their own notes. I used to have them write it on a note card, but they would end up on the floor all the time. Like they'd fall out of their golf bag or whatever. But no kid loses his phone, right? Like, and they all know where it is. So, I'll have them pull up that app and then write their notes, and then I proofread them at the end. And I think, again, that's another way to help keep them on their plan. I think the whole beauty of this is it enables the ability to keep them on the plan and them stay connected to you. He was really good.
A couple things you might work on there.
You can go back to setup. I think he's leaned a hair to his left, and I think his hip. If you drew the line down from his left shoulder to his left foot, Sam Saunders, right? You see there's that little bit of a gap in there between his shoulder and his hip. I think that kind of presets him to slide his right hip out and probably get out on the right side of his outside of his right foot at the top, and probably makes it harder for him to get wound up correctly. And I mean, if y'all hadn't figured out yet, I'm not a front post teacher. I hate that shit. So. You hit the wrong presentation.
Videos you get from students, like what do students feedback? Yeah, from using the app, talking to you.
What is it?
Okay, good question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, students' feedback?
Yeah.
Yeah, so everybody uses it a little bit differently. Like with the monthly program, I was expecting the juniors to throw a bunch of videos up there, and sometimes it's actually like pulling teeth for people to throw some stuff in there. And then I've got a couple that use it to video their swing every day. I got a kid in St. Louis that is just hitting out of his garage, and he'll post 20 swings a day, right? And then he'll go back through and delete it, which is probably why there's some space issues. But I think the player feedback's been good, and then also too with the FaceTimes when we do that, and we're able to screen record what we're working on, and then it just goes right into the app is incredible, because then it saves me time afterwards, not having to do recaps and all that stuff. And it's great too, because then most of the time you can cue them into like telling us what they're working on or what they're feeling, and then it's their words with those visuals matched up in a video, and it's perfect.
Yeah, that's great.
Any feedback from tour players that you work with?
I mean, everybody just talks about the ease of the ability to communicate. And I mean, I think that we're in this culture now where everything's immediate, right? The ability, I mean, everybody seems to really like the ability. Well, one, that it's cloud-based, and I mean, that's the biggest thing everybody talks about is how much crap we get on our phones now. I mean, I used to go through like a phone a year, almost, basically, really, because I film a lot of stuff, and so. But the big thing is the ability to go back, like and pull a drill. Like I filmed them, like I would like have filmed you doing that one-legged drill, right? And to be able to go back and say, "Oh, I knew January, 22nd, 23rd, we worked on this. I'm going to go show you what it was like at the beginning, right?" Or send them like, "Go back and do this exercise now. Do this drill." Really, it's just all comes. I mean. I think the biggest thing is that it's put everything in one place. We used to, people like me, Jackson, Wayne, Morgan, all of you, we do all the same stuff. We would have to go to 6 different places to accomplish it for one student, right?
It saves time.
Yeah, it saves time, and your time is your money. And then one for me, or one last thing I think that's important as teachers too, is when you find a good partner and a good company like Onform, I think it's important to stay loyal to people that help you when you're starting out. And I think that's something that with all the tech and there's a new company doing this, a new company doing that, every month, every couple months, like, man, I've been with the same clothing company, same equipment company, same two technology companies, now three for long periods of time. And I think that gets lost in our business. People are always jumping to who's got the next best deal and who'll do this. Like Nate, you're super easy to work with, and like you're very like responsive to our needs, right? Like if Onform isn't doing something that you need, call him and ask him, right? Sometimes, as I've found out, it's doing it. I just didn't know where the hell to find it in the app, being completely honest. Like, how do you turn it off, right? Like, but, and I just think that's an important message. Like, there's so much stuff out there, lots of great stuff, but find people that align with what you teach, what you do, become partners with them for each of your growth, and stick with them. And then you'll be more important to them as you grow, and they'll be more important to you as they grow. And that's how you build a business. That's how you build relationships. And ultimately, that's how you become important in this business, I think, because people know that they can trust you, they can depend on you, and that when they have something exciting and they want to launch something, you're going to get the first opportunity to see it because you've been with them a long time. Anyways, I didn't mean to get off on a non-teaching thing, but every time I walk through this place, that shit pisses me off.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for Tony and Jackson and Morgan and Wayne for being here. We really appreciate it. Thanks again.